The studio lights burned bright, the audience buzzing with anticipation as Jimmy Kimmel leaned back in his chair, signature smirk in place. The set of Jimmy Kimmel Live hummed with its usual late-night energy. The crowd primed for laughs and celebrity charm. Tonight's guest was Michael B. Jordan, Hollywood's golden boy, here to promote his latest blockbuster. The stage was set for a routine chat, until it wasn't. Jimmy, ever the provocateur, started light, tossing softballs about Michael's new film, his workout regimen, and that million-watt smile that had fans swooning worldwide. Michael, polished and charismatic, played along, his tailored suit catching the light as he leaned forward, all easy confidence. The audience ate it up, their cheers filling the studio. But Jimmy's eyes glinted with something sharper, a hint of mischief that only those who knew his style could catch. He was building to something, and the air in the room was starting to shift. "So, Michael," Jimmy said, his tone still playful but with an edge, "you've been in the game a while now. Early 2000s, 2010s, you were coming up, rubbing shoulders with the big dogs. Ever hit up one of Diddy's parties back in the day?" The question landed like a jab, quick and deliberate. The audience laughed, thinking it was just Jimmy being Jimmy, stirring the pot for laughs. But Michael's smile flickered just for a second, before he recovered. "Diddy's parties?" Michael chuckled, leaning back, arms crossed. "Man, you know how it was back then. Everybody was at those things. Just good vibes, music, networking. Nothing crazy." His voice was smooth, but his eyes stayed locked on Jimmy, wary now. Jimmy nodded, but his grin widened, predatory. "Oh, sure, networking." He air-quoted the word, drawing titters from the crowd. "But those parties had a reputation, right? I mean, we've all heard the stories. The freak-offs, the hookup rooms, what was it? Vats of baby oil?" The audience roared with laughter, caught off guard by the absurdity. Jimmy paused, letting the laughter die down, then leaned forward, his tone shifting to something colder. "Word is, you weren't just at those parties, Michael. People say they saw you in those rooms, with some very famous faces." The studio went quiet, the kind of silence that feels like a vacuum. Michael's face hardened, his jaw tightening as he sat up straighter. "Yo, Jimmy, what are you trying to say?" His voice was low, controlled, but there was a heat behind it that hadn't been there before. The audience shifted in their seats, sensing the mood turn. Jimmy didn't back down. He tilted his head, feigning innocence. "I'm just saying what's out there, man. You know how Hollywood talks. Folks are saying you were deep in that scene. Diddy's inner circle, the private rooms where things got wild. Like orgy level. Wild. You telling me there's nothing to that?" Michael's eyes narrowed, his calm demeanor cracking. "You're out here throwing dirt on my name like it's nothing," he said, his voice rising just enough to carry a warning. "I went to parties, yeah. So did half of Hollywood. You gonna sit there and act like I was doing something foul? Based on what? Gossip?" Jimmy shrugged, unfazed, his smile now a challenge. "Not just gossip, Mike. Sources. People who were there. They say those rooms weren't just for networking. We're talking A-listers, models, bottles of baby, oil everywhere. What's that even for?" He chuckled, but it was hollow, meant to sting. The audience tittered nervously, unsure whether to laugh or gasp. "I mean, come on, man. You were young, hot, climbing the ladder. Nobody's saying you were running the show, but you were there." Michael's hands clenched into fists on his lap, his knuckles whitening. "You're crossing a line, Jimmy," he said, his voice now a low growl. "You don't know what you're talking about, and you're trying to make me look like some kind of creep. On national TV. That's how you play this?" The crowd murmured, the tension palpable now. Jimmy raised his hands, mock surrender. "Hey, I'm just asking questions. The people want to know. You're a big star now, Michael. Creed, Black Panther, all that. But back then, you were a kid. In a wild world. Things happened. People saw things. You saying they're all lying? Michael leaned forward, his voice steady but laced with fury. I'm saying you're fishing for drama, and you're not gonna get it from me. I don't. Play these games, Jimmy. You want to talk about my work, my movies, I'm here. But you're not about to drag me into some tabloid mess. Jimmy's eyes sparkled with that dangerous glee he got when he knew he'd struck a nerve. Tabloid? Nah, this is bigger than that. This is Diddy-level stuff. Lawsuits, allegations, feds sniffing around. And your name keeps coming up, man. You can't just brush that off. The audience gasped, a few whispers breaking out. Michael's face was a mask of barely contained rage now, his breathing heavy. My name comes up because people like you keep throwing it out there, he shot back. You think this is funny? You think accusing me of some nasty stuff on your little show is a game? I'm not here for that. Jimmy leaned back, unfazed, his voice dropping to a serious tone for the first time. Look, Michael, I'm not saying you're guilty of anything. I'm saying the stories are out there and they're loud. People saw you at those parties, in those rooms. They're talking about drugs, hookups, some real dark stuff. You're telling me you never saw anything like that? Michael stood up, ripping off his mic with a sharp tug. I'm done with this, he said, his voice shaking with anger. You want to play dirty, Jimmy? Do it without me. He turned, striding toward the edge of the stage as the audience erupted in shocked murmurs. Jimmy called after him, Come on, man, don't run from the truth. But Michael didn't look back, his silhouette vanishing into the wings as the crowd's noise swelled, a mix of cheers and boos. The camera cut to Jimmy, alone at his desk, his smirk gone, replaced by a flicker of unease. He'd pushed too far, and he knew it. The show cut to commercial, but the damage was done. The stage was empty, the tension lingering like smoke, and the question hung in the air. What had Michael B. Jordan really been hiding? The commercial break ended, and the Jimmy Kimmel live studio lights flared back to life, but the energy in the room had shifted. The audience, still reeling from Michael B. Jordan's dramatic exit, sat in a restless hush, their murmurs like static in the air. Jimmy Kimmel, alone at his desk, adjusted his tie, his face a careful mask of composure. The unease that had flickered across his features was gone, replaced by the seasoned showman's grin, but his eyes betrayed a glint of calculation. He knew the cameras were rolling, and the world was watching. Michael's walkout had lit a fuse, and Jimmy wasn't about to let it fizzle out. All right, folks, Jimmy began, his voice smooth but laced with a biting edge. Looks like we hit a nerve there, huh? The audience chuckled nervously, unsure whether to lean into the drama or recoil from it. Jimmy leaned forward, his hands clasped on the desk, his tone shifting to mock sincerity. Listen, I didn't mean to upset anybody. I'm just asking the questions people are whispering about. You know, the stuff you see on X, the rumors swirling around Hollywood. I mean, come on, Diddy's parties. We've all heard the stories. Baby oil by the gallon, secret rooms, A-listers doing things they don't want on TMZ. Am I right? The crowd laughed, but it was uneven, some clapping while others exchanged uneasy glances. Jimmy's knack for towing the line between humor and accusation was his trademark, but tonight it felt like he was dancing on a razor's edge. He held up a hand, as if to quiet the room, though no one was speaking. Look, Michael's a great guy, talented, big star, but when your name gets tied to something as messy as Diddy's world, people talk. And I'm just the guy asking the questions they're too afraid to ask. Backstage, the mood was chaos. Michael B. Jordan hadn't left the building. He stood in the green room, pacing, his fists still clenched, his manager and a couple of crew members hovering nearby, unsure whether to approach. His phone buzzed, relentlessly. Texts from his team, his publicist, even a few friends who'd caught the live broadcast. You good? One read. What the hell was that? Read another. Michael ignored them, his mind racing. Jimmy's accusations weren't just reckless. They were a calculated hit, dragging up old rumors that had been buried for years. Diddy's parties were Hollywood legends, sure, but tying Michael to the darkest corners of those stories, hookup rooms, drugs, debauchery, was a low blow. And on live TV, this wasn't just a talk show stunt, it felt personal. A producer, headset on, poked her head into the green room. "Michael, we're back on in a minute. You coming back out?" Her voice was cautious, like she was approaching a live wire. Michael stopped pacing, his eyes locking onto her. "Back out there?" he said, his voice low and sharp. "So he can keep throwing mud?" "Nah, I'm not playing his game." The producer hesitated, then nodded and slipped out, leaving Michael to stew in his anger. On stage, Jimmy was in full control, or so he thought. He'd pivoted to addressing the audience directly, his monologue now a one-man show. "Here's the thing," he said, his tone serious now, though his smirk lingered. "Hollywood's a small town. Everybody knows everybody's business. And when you're at those parties, Diddy's or whoever's, you're not just sipping champagne and talking shop. People saw things. They saw who was there, where they were, and what went down. And let me tell you, the stories about those hookup rooms, they're not just rumors. They're detailed. Like, who was in there with who, what they were doing, and how much baby oil was involved, detailed." The audience laughed again, but it was strained, the humor landing awkwardly in the wake of Michael's exit. Jimmy leaned back, his eyes scanning the crowd. "I'm not saying Michael was running the show or anything, but if you're in those rooms, you're not just an innocent bystander. You're part of the scene. And when the feds start poking around, when lawsuits start piling up, names get named. That's all I'm saying." He paused, letting the words sink in, then added with a sly grin, "I mean, who needs that much baby oil, right? You don't bring 500 bottles to a party for skin care." The crowd erupted, some cheering, others gasping. The room split between those eating up the drama and those sensing Jimmy had gone too far. Backstage, Michael's manager, a sharp-eyed woman named Tara, was on the phone, her voice urgent. "We need to get ahead of this," she was saying. "He's painting Michael as some kind of party degenerate on national TV. We need a statement now." Michael, overhearing, shook his head. "A statement?" he snapped. "I'm not explaining myself to nobody. I didn't do nothing wrong. He wants to play dirty? Let him. I'm not going back out there to be his punching bag." But the producer was back, more insistent now. "Michael, the audience is losing it. Social media's blowing up. If you don't go back out, this is all they're going to talk about. You've got a chance to set the record straight." Michael's eyes flashed, his voice cold. "Set the record straight? He's not looking for the truth. He's looking for clicks. You saw how he played it, throwing out hookup rooms and baby oil like it's a damn joke. I'm not here to be his prop." On stage, Jimmy was doubling down, sensing the moment slipping but refusing to let go. "Look, folks, I'm not here to ruin anybody's career," he said, his voice softening, but the crowd wasn't buying the pivot. "I'm just saying, when you're young in this town, you make choices. You go to the wrong parties, hang with the wrong crowd, and suddenly you're in a room with God knows who, doing God knows what. And Michael, he was there. People saw him. They're not shy about it either." The audience's murmurs grew louder, a mix of shock and excitement. Jimmy, sensing the energy, leaned into it. "I mean, think about it. You're at Diddy's mansion, music's blasting, drinks are flowing, and you're in a back room with, what, models, rappers, politicians, and there's baby oil everywhere. Sounds like a hell of a networking event, right?" The crowd laughed, but it was a nervous release, the kind that comes when you're not sure if you're supposed to be laughing. Backstage, Michael's resolve was cracking, not from guilt but from rage. He'd been in the industry long enough to know how this worked. Rumors could destroy you, truth be damned. And Jimmy was weaponizing those rumors, turning a decade-old party scene into a scandal for ratings. Tara, still on the phone, looked at him. Michael, you walk away now, it's all they'll talk about. You go back out, you control the narrative. Michael stopped pacing, his eyes burning. Control the narrative? He's already got the crowd thinking I'm some kind of freak. You heard him. Hookup rooms, feds, all that. He's not asking questions. He's making accusations. But even as he said it, he felt the weight of the moment. If he didn't go back out, Jimmy's version of the story would be the only one people heard. If he did, he'd be walking into a trap. The producer's radio crackled. 10 seconds to live, she said, her voice urgent. Michael's jaw tightened. He grabbed a fresh mic, clipping it on with a sharp motion. Fine, he said, his voice low and dangerous. He wants a fight? He's gonna get one. He strode toward the stage, the audience's cheers swelling as they caught sight of him, the tension spiking to a breaking point. Jimmy's head snapped up, his smirk faltering for a split second as Michael stepped back into the light, ready to confront the accusations head-on. The studio lights seared down as Michael B. Jordan stormed back onto the Jimmy Kimmel Live stage, his presence like a thunderclap. The audience's cheers morphed into a charged buzz, a mix of anticipation and unease. Michael's eyes were locked on Jimmy, his stride deliberate, his tailored suit now seeming like armor. Jimmy, caught off guard by Michael's return, recovered quickly, his smirk creeping back, though it was tighter now, less certain. The crowd sensed the shift, their murmurs falling silent as Michael took his seat, mic in hand, his face a mask of controlled fury. All right, Michael, welcome back, Jimmy said, his tone light but laced with a challenge. Didn't think you'd leave us hanging like that. Ready to clear the air? The audience laughed softly, but it was a nervous sound like they were bracing for impact. Jimmy leaned forward, his eyes glinting. So you say you're not part of this Diddy mess, but people are talking. Hookup rooms, baby oil, the whole deal. You're telling me you were just, what, sipping juice in the corner? Michael's jaw clenched, his voice low and steady, cutting through the room like a blade. You keep throwing out these stories, Jimmy, like you've got receipts. Where are they? You're sitting here, accusing me of being in some nasty back room. Scene based on what? Some whispers on X? You think you can drag my name through the mud for laughs? His words were sharp, each one landing like a blow. The audience shifted, some nodding, others whispering. The room split between loyalty to Jimmy's antics and Michael's raw intensity. Jimmy raised his hands, mock defensive, but his smile didn't waver. Hey, I'm not the one making this up, Mike. I'm just repeating what's out there. You were at those parties. Nobody's denying that. And those parties? They weren't just about networking. People saw stuff. Drugs, hookups, rooms where things got freaky. You're saying you never saw anything? Not one wild night with too much baby oil? The crowd laughed, but it was scattered, the humor falling flat against Michael's stone-cold stare. You're obsessed with this baby oil thing, huh? Michael shot back, his voice dripping with disdain. You think it's a joke, but you're out here trying to paint me as some kind of creep on live TV. I was in my 20s, Jimmy. Yeah, I went to parties. Diddies, others. So did everybody. You want to talk about what went down? Talk about the music, the deals, the hustle. Not some made-up orgy nonsense you're trying to pin on me. His voice rose, not in volume but in intensity, each word a challenge. You got no proof, no names, no nothing. Just rumors you're spinning into a scandal for your ratings. The audience erupted in applause, some cheering for Michael's defiance, others still loyal to Jimmy's provocations. Jimmy leaned back, his smirk faltering for a moment, but he wasn't done. Okay, fair enough, he said, his tone shifting to a faux serious drawl. But let's be real. Those parties had a vibe. Lawsuits are flying, the feds are circling, and your name's in the mix. People say they saw you in those rooms, Michael, with models, rappers, maybe even some politicians. You're telling me it's all lies? Nobody's got a single story on you? Michael leaned forward, his eyes boring into Jimmy's. I'm telling you I'm not your scapegoat, he said, his voice like steel. You want to talk about Diddy? Talk to Diddy. You want to talk about Hollywood secrets? Look in your own backyard. You've been in this game long enough to know how it works. You're not exposing truth, you're chasing clout, and I'm not here to be your punching bag. The crowd roared, the energy tilting in Michael's favor, his words resonating with a raw honesty that cut through Jimmy's theatrics. Jimmy's smile tightened, his fingers drumming on the desk. All right, he said, trying to regain control. I'm just asking questions, man. The people deserve to know. You're a big star, Michael. Creed, Black Panther, all that. But when your name's tied to something this messy, you can't just dodge it. You gotta own it or shut it down. Own what? Michael snapped, his voice rising now, the anger breaking through. Own your made-up story? You're not asking questions. You're making accusations. You're sitting there, acting like you've got some big scoop, but all you've got is gossip and a mic. You want to talk about owning something? Own the fact that you're trying to tear me down for no reason. He stood, towering over the desk, his presence commanding the room. I'm not here for this. You crossed a line and I'm done. The audience gasped, the tension electric as Michael ripped off his mic again, tossing it onto the chair. Jimmy, for the first time, looked genuinely rattled, his usual quick wit failing him. Come on, Michael, don't do this again, he called. But Michael was already moving, striding off the stage with a purpose that silenced the room. The crowd's cheers and boos mingled, a chaotic wave of sound as he disappeared into the wings, leaving Jimmy alone under the harsh lights. Jimmy sat there, staring at the empty chair, his smirk gone, replaced by a flicker of regret. He turned to the camera, forcing a chuckle. Well, folks, that's live TV for you, he said, his voice hollow. Guess we'll see what's next. Stick around. The band struck up. The show cut to commercial, but the damage was sealed. Michael's exit wasn't just a walkout. It was a statement, a line drawn in the sand. Backstage, Michael's manager, Tara, was waiting, her phone already buzzing with notifications. You did what you had to do, she said, her voice firm, but proud. They're gonna talk, but you set the tone. You didn't let him bury you. Michael nodded, his jaw still tight, his eyes distant. He wanted a fight, he said quietly. He got one, but I'm not playing this game again. The fallout was immediate. Social media exploded, clips of the confrontation spreading like wildfire. Hashtags trended, opinions split. Some called Jimmy a bully. Others praised his boldness, while Michael's fans rallied behind him, decrying the host's tactics. The accusations about Diddy's parties hung in the air, unproven but potent, a shadow over Michael's name that he'd now have to navigate. Jimmy's ratings took a hit, the controversy painting him as reckless, his provocations no longer charming but cruel. The incident became a flashpoint, a reminder that even in Hollywood's glitzy chaos, respect and accountability mattered. Michael, for his part, walked away with his head high, his silence louder than Jimmy's taunts. He'd faced the fire, called out the game, and refused to be its pawn. The stage was empty now, but the echoes of his stand lingered, a testament to a man who wouldn't let rumors define him.